Hello, Dr. McConnell. It's Tina, and today I wanted to do a video reflection of the course and also my process and feelings about participatory action research with my group. So, when I think about working with a group, when I first started the project, I was definitely confused about how we would make it work, especially in light of it being an online course. And originally I thought, oh, Jennifer's in my group, at least her and I can meet in person. And then everything with COVID-19 happened. And so it really made all four of us rely on open communication and respect during the process. But Rebecca, Michelle, and Jennifer were such fabulous group members to learn from. They always provided me with a great amount of flexibility, reflection, critical thinking, and transformative feedback in the way that they responded to my ideas. And it really helped all of us be able to collaborate and grow together during the whole part experience. So as we kept getting to know each other during the 5 to 6 weeks that we did the project, PAR really allowed us to create an open and communicative space where we felt super comfortable sharing our similarities, differences, positionality, and also just past experiences that shaped us for this project. And I'm really grateful that I did get that experience to do a remote group project fully. So then how we made decisions together, it honestly was so important for us to come up with that process of how we were going to make decisions and collaborate together right from the beginning. So we established our expectations, our roles, our protocol surrounding the PAR experience, and we really took inspiration from the PAR toolkit that Payne, Whitman, and Millage created. So we talked through both Google Docs and Zoom throughout the whole process, but really at that beginning stage, we spent just a couple hours making sure that we put enough time to discuss the what, who, where, when, and how of our group dynamics, so that as we moved forward in the process, we weren't confused or trying to figure out those protocols in the moment. And it helped us be able to know kind of how we were going to share the workload, split up the workload evenly, keep track of our to-dos, who was responsible for what. And for us, that looked like an action items document that I ended up filling in with kind of our meeting notes after we had met all together, so that throughout the week when we weren't talking as a team, all of us could go back and remember who was supposed to do what. And then a final aspect of our decision making was really rooted in our empathy for each other. And as a group, we were constantly discussing what was going on in our own personal lives, any other requirements or aspects going on that maybe affected each of us differently as far as our timeline for getting things done. We did that through email, Zoom, text, comments on our Google Doc, just having that open communication so that we were ready and able to make decisions together that were helpful for the whole team. And then, so we collaborated and made decisions together, but we also needed to know how we were going to communicate with each other and what that would look like. So initially, we put a ton of emphasis on this because when we realized, okay, this is all going to be online, we're never going to meet each other face to face for this, we need to figure out a very clear system for how to share information and how to communicate with one another, or this was just, it was just not going to work. So we had a ton of emphasis on how we were going to communicate and share information in an effective, respectful, timely, organized way. So we actually decided right away at the beginning of, I think it was Module 2, we decided that we would create a Google Doc titled Group Resources, and Michelle was the one who had the role of making sure that that stayed organized after we would input our stuff. But we input any of the research articles we found, our findings, any of the resources that we were going to help teachers with. We put them all in that group resources document, and it actually helped us to have such smooth workflow from week to week, and it made creating our final project so much easier because we already had a full list with summaries, annotations of our resources and articles that we could then put onto our site. We also made sure to delegate different roles that would be responsible for sharing information. So we had, my role was communicating out meeting times and making sure that everyone was on the same page as far as emails and when we were actually going to chat, as well as kind of those meeting minutes afterwards with action items. But then Jennifer was the one that was editing for clarity after we'd put all of our things in. Rebecca was the one that did a lot of the group consensus work on the actual document. So having all of those ways of communicating with one another and protocols before we even started totally helped us throughout the whole time be able to work effectively as a group. And also with those roles established, we were ready by the time we'd actually meet to have productive, timely brainstorming and creative sessions because all four of us were so busy with the different things in our lives that it was super important for when we met to be ready so that we could use our time wisely. So we decided to make a Google website about online literacy instruction, and we really had to think a lot about how we were going to share that out, what platform we were going to use. Originally, we thought maybe we'll do a blog or make an account, but we had to kind of narrow down how and where we wanted to present our information, and so we decided on a website. So big thing when we were thinking about who was going to share the website where was our positionality. So before we even created the website, we had to really look at our own positionality and potential influences that we had in our own circles and figure out maybe which of us would benefit from making sure to post it to Facebook, or maybe we all should post it to the same places. So kind of figuring that out, we ended up kind of deciding that we would each choose 1 to 2 social media platforms to post it through, as well as share it with individual people who we felt would benefit from it most. And then we also needed to make sure we were clear on our intended audiences. So we knew we were going to make a website, but we needed to look at how we were going to make our creation effective, appealing, and accessible for both parents and teachers. So that was super important to us so that parents and teachers could go on the website and navigate it easily. We also had to decide if we wanted this website to be fully public or if we wanted it to stay private and for us to be careful and intentional about who we chose to share it with. So we decided that we wanted to publicly publish the site, and we want to do that really to just increase the range of visibility, especially during this time. It didn't make sense for us to try to narrow down who was going to view the site when we felt that all teachers and all parents, wherever they lived, whether we knew them or not, could benefit from some of these resources during remote learning. And then finally, as we share out the site, we also needed to make sure to think about our upkeep of it. On our site, we do have a feature where we ask people to participate and provide suggestions. So we knew that the site was not static. It was going to continue growing, and we had to establish protocol for kind of the upkeep of the site. And we collectively assigned roles as to who would update each page as needed. So as people suggest things to us, we will continue to add them to our group resources page, and then we will edit them as needed based on who is assigned to what page. Then we published this site, and deciding to use Google Sites to share our findings surrounding online literacy really allowed us to easily collaborate remotely. When we thought about making a blog or making an account, it was very difficult to figure out who was going to do what, and we couldn't all be editing it or posting it at the same time. But when we're on Google Sites, we can make comments, we can all be collaborating at the same time and publishing it remotely, which obviously was perfect for this project. And Google Sites was a free and easy way to allow us to publish to a public sphere. So that was really great because, as Chemist and McTaggart tell us, publishing to a public sphere sphere allows for communicative networks to be formed, as well as making sure there's inclusivity, shared ideas, and the spread of knowledge to others, all virtually. And especially during this time, we really wanted to make sure to add to the virtual public sphere. So then, as something we've talked about throughout all of the modules, the equity and access in participatory culture is not equitable. So one thing that I've really taken away from this course is the distinction between power users and powerful users, as Watkins talks about. And it's important for me to make sure that people understand the difference between the two terms, because power users refers to frequency, so how much you're posting, what you're posting about. But then powerful users refers to currency and influence. So you might only be posting a couple times a week, but somehow your tweets are getting more recognition and likes. So just knowing that distinction, because oftentimes marginalized groups are the people that make up power users, yet their ideas aren't recognized unless a powerful user starts to promote them. So that leads to the equity issue. And I loved this quote from Watkins. It says, power use, however, should not be conflated with powerful use. Powerful use is the degree to which use carries weight and influence. For example, the political, policy, or pop culture realm. But most observations of Black Twitter tend to construct African Americans as power users, meaning they just post a lot, but they don't have the influence. So there is rarely a consideration of them as powerful users. Why? That's the equity issue. We should be taking both African American populations, Hispanic, any type of marginalized group should also have the potential to be powerful users and have their thoughts recognized. So obviously, what can I do? I think reflecting on my positionality is something that's so important as I consider the impact that I may have had or could have on this equity issue. And I loved the quote from Jenkins, Ido, and Boyd about addressing the participation gap isn't just about access and skills. So we can say all day, oh, well, people don't have enough access or they don't know how, and that's why they are having an equity issue. But really, some of the most egregious inequities have a lot to do with people's structural position within a broader network. So it's not about whether someone can have access. You can give someone access to the internet and still have them have an equity issue. It's really about recognizing where you are and what you can do and whose voice you can help be heard. If you have more influence over something, who can you help? And then also, I really liked this other one at the top here. It says, while it is easy to understand simple lack of access to technology, understanding how people get excluded from or included in participatory cultures based on their cultural, ethnic, gender, or racial affiliation is much more complex. And we saw that throughout all the modules. Simply giving students and their parents access to a laptop and internet is not going to ensure that they have the right mindset and support and equity to actually take advantage of that and be seen as those powerful users. So, as I reflect on the 7 principles for participatory culture that I created, and they're on the left here, I wanted to take time to even further reflect on it. So we did our 7 principles, I believe, in Module 5. And then when I came to Module 6, I continued reading the course readings, and I was so happy to find that I had even more evidence and research to support the principles that I came up with. For example, in Wagner's presentation, he discusses the value of students not being written off for their interests, but encouraged to follow them. And that totally helped to reinforce the why behind pursue your interest principle was so important to me. Another example, Sir Ken Robinson, during his TED Talk, he discussed the disenfranchise we do for students when we teach them to be afraid of failure. So that totally goes with my try something new principle. because I really wanted to normalize the growth mindset and normalize failure as part of iteration and learning rather than a stopping point for learning. So overall, just going through the process of regular research, collaboration, creation, and reflection throughout this course has allowed me to deeply understand participatory culture, what it is, and how I actually am intertwined into many different participatory cultures each day. Before I end everything, I did want to give a special thanks to you, Dr. McConnell. It is crazy that I had you as my first teaching course. I had you as my last teaching course in undergrad, and now I've had you both semesters in my grad school. So I just want to thank you. It's always a pleasure learning from you and reading your own research and findings as well. And then lastly, here are my references. Please let me know if you have any questions. And again, thanks for a great course.